when I did my like little dabble with hardcore, which I would really love to do
Yes.
more of, but I just don't. I don't have the time to run it alongside. I don't
Yeah.
want to just do it on it. I don't want to only do that. And because it's not really conducive to making like lots of varied content. But I'd love to go back to it. And the little bit that I did there, the couple of streams that I did at the end of the previous wipe, it just changes your loot priority so much because you're just like, will I use this item? Will I use this item for everything? As opposed to like, and there's so many things, like even just stuff that you like auto pick up, and you're like, actually, I don't need rubles. Because if you
Yeah.
like ban yourself from buying anything, what do you need money for? Like you literally don't like you can't. Does not. It has no use.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
So
really like people watching are like, oh my god, you didn't loot the graphics card? What's wrong with you, man? It's like 20 million or whatever, you know?
yeah, and you're like, well, I'm not even allowed to sell it to the trader. So
Yeah, it's not, it has no value to me. You know?
yeah, or even maybe not use the high
I
value.
need a spark plug.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome to ScavTalk, an escape from Tarkov podcast with a focus on the continuing development of the game, patch notes analysis, theory crafting, and general gameplay discussions. My name is Church. I do content creation, video editing, and general live streaming.
And I'm GigaBeef, a Tarkov YouTuber, bringing mainly beginner and intermediate guides to help players improve their gameplay, knowledge, and confidence. And welcome to the show. So here we are, another week.
Here we
Again,
are.
another week. How's it been going?
Good. You know, feeling better, much better actually. So that's really good. And everyone in the families, I think we're like the storm is past, so we can see clearly now.
That's good.
Yeah,
Good.
good. And yeah, I haven't played any Tarkov. I've been like living vicariously through Exfil and Ghosts. And my new favorite thing right now is viewer kits. It
I've
is
never
so
done any
much
of them.
fun.
I've never
Dude,
done any of those.
I got someone did a viewer kit to me, and that was so much fun. And then I started doing them to Ghosts, and it's just been a blast, dude. It's been a blast. I've been loving it. I made a joke in this chat. I was like, I'm gonna have to actually start playing to like fund these viewer kits for you. Because sometimes they'll be ridiculous. Like one like the first one I did, I gave him a Mark 18 slick, like just everything GL. The
Love
Mark
that.
18 had like the flare on it.
Oh
And
my
what
goodness.
was like an MP9 that was like intended to be used in his like rig as like a
Hotkey
to like hotkey it, yeah.
I love it. I love it.
It was a lot of fun.
There's a question actually about that. Like, if you have it hotkeyed in the rig and you use it, like, where does it go? It just stays in your rig, right?
Yeah, but
It doesn't pull into it doesn't pull into one of your 1 or 2 slots.
No, it's
I
like
didn't think so. I've never done
4
it.
or 5. I've
Yeah.
only done it once. It's been super, yeah, once.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, this week I've kind of been playing a bit. You know that I don't play a huge amount in the week anyway, but I have
Yeah.
been playing a bit, and I've been playing them some like budget kits mainly. It's interesting. I've been playing like AKs with BT because I've been trying to do that quest on
Yeah.
Interchange where you have to kill the dudes with the respirator on.
Mm-hmm.
And I've quite enjoyed myself, I have to say. Like, I've actually quite enjoyed myself. And I think it's one thing that I've been surprised at is I've always kind of like I don't like dislike BT, but I don't really use it myself because I just think it's kind of like it's just that side of bad for me
Yeah.
not to use it in most situations. But like there was a bunch of people wearing level 4, which it deals with fine. And there was a bunch of people wearing Kurandamas, which turns out it deals with fine. And I was like, this is not as bad as I thought it was. Like it's not great if you come up against something with a lot of durability on it. But it's honestly like much better for like budget runs than I gave it credit for. I had quite good success with it, and it's because it's tracer. It's actually kind of easier to shoot people over long range because you can see where the rounds are going. Because sometimes it can be quite difficult to like figure it out. You know, when like if is my round hitting or not? Like it's quite hard because when the recoil jumps your scope, sometimes you can't really see where the round lands, especially if it's like at a decent distance. I was doing some. I actually did like a bunch of like random offline raids. I was doing like killing raiders offline with like MP7 just running around and just like practicing stuff. And then I was like going and killing Sturman on woods, and it was fascinating. That's kind of where the BT thing came in handy, because I was like trying to figure out what I was trying to do. Really, was I was trying to figure out like some ranging stuff for like Shooter Born in Heaven on woods,
Hmm.
and also the Tarkov Shooter Part 7, where you have to kill people with like suppressed with a suppressed bolty. And it was interesting because it's actually quite difficult. Like I tried to use the DVL a bit last week on stream, and the DVL's cool and all, but bolt action design is just so hard. It's so hard. It's so hard. But yeah, kind of. I was like taking the AK with it, and with BT, I was like, oh well, I can see where I'm shooting at and stuff like that. Like get a good idea of more, idea of ranging and that kind of thing. So like it's been interesting. It's been interesting. I've I've had fun. I've had fun doing that. But what I did want to actually ask you as well, I guess the answer is probably no, given what you said about like not really playing that much Tarkov this week. Is that have you checked out or seen any hired ops? I only wanted to touch on it briefly.
I have seen a bit. Yeah, I watched some streams and yeah, I haven't played it though. You?
I played it for like probably
Oh,
about
you did play it.
45 minutes. Yeah, I
Very
did actually
cool.
play it because it was free and I picked it up,
Yeah.
and it was interesting. I wouldn't say it was like necessarily the best thing that I've ever played in my entire life, but it wasn't that bad. I only played one game mode though, which I kind of regret. I was playing like the gun game mode because I was just like I just
How
pressed
does
go.
how does that work?
Um you just get so it's like you played gun game like CS?
Yeah, so it's like that.
Yeah, so it's like that. So you get a weapon, and then you have to get like 2 kills with it, and then it switches you to another weapon, and then eventually you end up with like some ridiculous revolver, and then you have to like stab somebody at the end. Um,
Gotcha.
that kind of thing. And it was kind of cool, and it was on like a sort of what would you call it? Kind of like an industrially kind of like containers, like warehouse kind of map thing. And I kind of forgot that I assumed it would just like move on to another map, but it just kind of didn't, because I just pressed like, oh,
Hmm.
let's just go. I didn't spend enough time with
Yeah.
it to actually then go and do anything else. So I played like a couple of rounds of that and was like, okay, this is cool. And then I had to go and do some other stuff. So like I didn't play it again. But it was interesting. It was interesting. It was it had some like damage mechanics in it, some bleeding stuff, like fractures, things like that. And then
Uh,
the one thing that kind of like made me just go like, huh? Like sit up was the people dying noise is the same. That was the weirdest thing for me, because it feels like COD. It feels like a hybrid. It feels like a hybrid of COD and Tarkov.
hmm.
But then, like, because they've taken a lot of the assets from Tarkov, like the PMC death sound is the same, and it just feels like, to
Yeah.
me, because you're so used to those sounds, it feels like kind of out of place. Do you know what I mean? You're just like, oh, that sound's not supposed to be here. That's a sound from something else, and because it's like the identical like .wav or whatever, it's like the
Yeah,
same thing. And
that's
I was like,
funny.
oh, that is quite funny. But it was quite cool. It was quite cool, and they've got like the sort of two different types of scopes kind of thing. You can flick between a longer range and a short range and like that kind of stuff. So there's like a lot of the Tarkov mechanics in like pretty fast time to kill. Same thing as EFT as well. It seemed like it seemed okay. It seemed like it could be okay, but it was like I had an all right time. I didn't feel necessarily compelled to play a great deal more, and it did feel like some of the menus felt like a bit mobile gamey to me,
Hmm.
um, but it's like it was solid at least. Like I had an okay time. I think I've heard from some other people that like in the US it's not as popular. It's not as like populated in
Mm.
general. But I mean
I
in
think I
Europe it
did
was
hear that.
completely fine. It was like totally fine in Europe. Decent pings, no lag. Didn't seem any issues particularly. I mean, I wasn't that familiar with the specific mechanics of the game, so it's hard to know when you play your first half an hour.
Yeah,
But it was fun. It was fun. And kind of I was I did think like, oh, I don't know whether I'd just play COD instead, but um, it was definitely a good time. I might check it out again. I don't know. I'll have to see. I'll have to see. Especially,
I'm
I think there's some other game modes that I haven't seen, so it might be cool.
I'm kind of interested to try it myself now. Um, I mean, I like grew up on free to play shooters.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, so it's like that. Yeah, I'm kind of interested to try it out. The whole thing's really interesting to me. I know you say you don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but it's just like the whole history of everything because it's like the developer is Absolute Soft, which was, if I understand correctly, the history that was a branch or that was like I don't know.
Yeah. From what I've heard is that like they were one company and then Battlestate spun off, and then I think they became just
Yes.
bigger because Tarkov became so big. But it's like the whole thing they worked on contract wars first, and then split
Hmm.
off. And these guys were making hard ops, and Battlestate was making EFT. I think anyway.
And I don't know, but I suspect just kind of given how free to play games have worked in the past, in my experience, is that hired ops is basically just a reskin of not even a reskin, but just like been repurposed from contract wars. Like it's the same assets and everything. It's just been repurposed into this more free to play. I assume I don't really know the details of everything, but
Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard. But given I haven't played Contract Wars, it's kind of hard to know. So maybe like all of
yeah,
those assets are just like repurposed from Contract Wars in the first place, and like they've moved some of them into hard ops, and then some of those got taken over into Tarkov. Just the PMC dying noise. It's just like, huh? I know that. There was actually one thing that really annoyed me. One thing in particular that like somebody like just God like me would like find it really annoying, which is the inability to map controls in exactly the same way as in Tarkov. That really just like, oh, that just really annoys me. So I said about like the multiple types of scope. I couldn't find a
yeah,
way to get control and something as a thing, which is how I have it in Tarkov. I couldn't get it to work in hard ops, so I had to map it to a different key, and I'm just like, my muscle memory. Oh no.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
god. I was like, well, I'm just using red dots then. I'm not switching scopes. So it is possible. But I ended up putting it on like another mouse button or something. I was like, I'm gonna have to actually purposefully remember and do the thing. Um, but yeah, that's like this very smallest, most pernickety niggle of all time. But I was like, oh, why? Don't make me change my buttons. I hate it. I hate it. I hate having my buttons changed. Honestly, it's like when I went from
oh,
like Daisy over to PUBG over to Tarkov, whatever. I'm just like, let me map everything identically, and like things that aren't
yeah,
identical. I'm like, go no, oh no. I don't really like change like that, to be honest.
yeah,
So yeah, it was good. I think it was worth checking out. I think it was worth checking out if you get a chance, get a few spare moments. The rounds are pretty quick as well, so you can just dip in and out. There's not really you don't really gain or lose anything. So there's no the Tarkov, the knot of anxiety. That's not there.
yeah,
So that's nice. There's always a plus. There's always a plus.
yeah.
So yeah,
I
check it
think
out.
I'm gonna try it out. I mean, it just, yeah, kind of,
Yeah, yeah, it's
yeah.
fun. It's
I'm
fun.
I'm really curious about some things, so I want to see how they do the monetization. That's really my biggest
I
thing I'm
think
interested
it's like,
in.
is it like skins? I think you can pay to progress faster. I only read this. I didn't actually see it, to be honest. But I
Mm,
think you can like pay to progress quicker. I don't think it necessarily gives you any like actual real advantages. It might give you like more choices or something. So you might be able to choose more weapons, but I don't think that the weapons are necessarily better because you start off with some good guns, I think, and so it's kind of just like give you more variety as opposed to necessarily giving you like an inherent advantage, which is fine. And cosmetics, I'm completely cool with cosmetics. You can sell as many
mhm.
cosmetics as you like that have no bearing on the game. Do that all you want. There obviously are lines, but it's in general as a principle, I'm completely cool with that. It's a great way to monetize free games, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good. Um, good on hard ops. That it? We good? We good there?
yeah, yeah,
There was something that I wanted to mention about which I hadn't run into really before because I kind of started noticing it, right, and I hadn't run into it before because I didn't have my graphics settings very high with my old PC, and I noticed this like really weird bug with some of the settings because I turned a load of them on, right, because I was just like testing them out, and I was like, well, I'll just turn them off if there's issues, and there's like particular problems looking through trees at sea. And it took me a while to actually figure out exactly what the problem was. And I actually pulled up my graphic settings, so they have them to hand, so I could figure out which one it was. And it's the SSR setting, which
And
is
what is it with the water? You said.
yeah. So it's like this thing is called like screen space reflections, and what it's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to do is give you like a more realistic view of like what a
Right.
reflection should be. And with it on, the game looks so good, man. It looks so sick with it on. It looks amazing. So it's like if you've got like the pool of water on interchange, when you're running to the railway extract kind of thing, and you look at the water, the trees
Mm-hmm.
behind are like reflected correctly in the water. Like it
Yeah.
looks so good. And then, but there's even other places like again because I've been playing a bunch of interchange. It's kind of where I noticed it. So say you're going towards Emacom, but you're going along like the southernmost side of the map, and you're like coming up sort of along the ramp section, and it's outside the car park, and there's the big like concrete wall, which is like the side of the mall in general, like the mall sort of building. It's like the foundations of the building. That polished concrete also has SSR. So you can see like the reflection of like the trees in the concrete, and it's like really subtle, but it just looks so good. But there's a problem with it. There's some bug where if you're looking like through trees at water or something like that, then the trees reflect like this way, like there's no way the light would ever go that way, but it like reflects the wrong direction. I think something to do with the camera or whatever. So like you basically see like if you're really close to a bunch of like foliage, you see that reflected in the water, like as if it's like, and it's huge. It's like massive, and it just doesn't really work properly, which really, really, really sucks because it looks so awesome, and I had to turn it off because I was just like,
Because
I
it bothered you
can't.
that
It bothers me
much.
so much, and it happens like there's all sorts of times where it happens. It's like your gun glows in weird places. Like looking through foliage is quite difficult. Sometimes it's hard to see people. Like there's lots of like little things that it does which cause you to be worse at the game, which is like definitely not what I want. So I like went through and did like a big scrubbing of all my graphic settings. Now it kind of looks more like it did before my old PC, which kind of helps. Like I can see people a lot better, I think. But it's a shame because it looks so good with all the settings on. Honestly, it looks so good. And I was trying to get a bit more frame rate as well, just to make sure that I stay above 60, even when it's like complicated scenes and I'm looking through a scope. You know what I mean? Because it hurts
Yeah,
otherwise. It hurts.
that's how I am. I'm too much of a gamer. I'm like, is this gonna save me 5 FPS? If so, I'm gonna disable it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of going. I'm kind of going back that way. I'm going back that
I
way,
mean,
which is a shame.
I
But
try not to go too crazy on like the saturation and color boost and post FX because I don't want it to look. Because Tarkov is like a really nice looking game, realistically, but like yeah, screen space reflections and HBOA or whatever, like any
yeah,
of the extra stuff, I'm just like disable, 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 disable.
yeah. Oh, and actually, one last one is because I was interested about this whole MIP streaming thing because I hadn't
Yeah.
actually looked at it, and I don't know whether you looked
Hmm.
into it because, like, I sort of like saw some people talking about it, and people talking about CPU versus GPU and whether it's good or whether it's not, and Pestley saying that it like blew his stream up when he was trying to stream with it on and all this kind of stuff. And it seemed like I'm no expert, and all I've done is just aggregated like other people's feedback from around the web.
Hmm.
But from all it seems is that like it helps older PCs with lower like VRAM to
Yeah.
not loading all the textures in high quality like
Yeah.
right at the beginning, and but that completely lost that. Then it then forces the CPU to do more loading, is what I was trying to say, because it needs to pull stuff in and out of the game space more frequently than it would otherwise. So it does seem
Mm.
to me that like it didn't really make any difference on my PC. I thought it did at one point. I thought like when I loaded in, I was like, oh my god, this is like insane. I thought I had like double FPS or something, and then it slowly just like disappeared as the raid went on, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe it is the same. Then maybe it's just really good at the beginning and then slows down. If I'm like some of the FPS is very inconsistent in EFT. Actually, it's very
Oh
strange.
yeah,
It's very
it's
weird.
got to go through a optimization phase
Mm.
for sure.
Yeah, and especially
That's
like
polish.
especially because I was testing it on Woods a lot as well. I
Oh
was like,
yeah,
Woods is like tough. It's a tough map. Like if you're looking at Sawmill from
that's a
along the
lot of
railway,
textures.
it's a lot of textures. It's a lot of textures. So, um, yeah. So I like ended up like fiddling around with that and ended up just like leaving it off. But yeah, it's a funny one, right? Trying to like maximize and optimize your game experience. Plus, like, I used to play with anti-aliasing. Right? I couldn't actually stream at all, even in 720. I couldn't stream with AA on. And I turned it off. The other day. I was just like, let me just see what it looks like, and I was like, oh my god, it looks really bad.
It looks pretty bad.
So I used to have it completely off, and it was just like jagged lines everywhere. And so it is nice.
That's crazy. Because I'm curious how much that cost you to turn it on with that system you had. Like, would you lose like 20 frames? Was it that?
I'm not. I don't know specifically, but I know that
Yeah.
it would not render in real time anymore. So I couldn't actually run a 60 FPS stream at 720 and run the
Yeah.
game simultaneously. Because before, right, like my CPU was very, very mediocre. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about tech, but like my CPU was very mediocre, and I was doing all the game, probably a lot of the like graphic stuff as well, because my GPU was kind of like okay, but sort of borderline. So it's like probably some more load on the CPU too, and encoding as well, all on the CPU. And my CPU wasn't that
Yeah.
good,
That's
so it was just
yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like my CPU is better, my GPU is like miles better, and it's encoding on the NVENC chip, which is just like
Yeah.
it's insane. It's just
Yeah.
an insane difference. It's insane. So yeah, that's okay. That's gone all right, and it still does sometimes drop a bit lower than I would like. It goes to like 50 sometimes, and I'm like, really? Really? Which is kind of what I was like trying to tweak as well. I was like, okay, but like it's fine, and it's manageable, and I think
Yeah.
it's just like in very specific situations, and you can see like the CPU usage, GPU usage, and all that high, and it's just like, okay, it's probably an optimization thing as well. Like other people have the same problem, I think, too, and like unless you have like a 3090, which costs like as much as my entire computer on its own, then and maybe not even then, you know, just because sometimes like the hardware doesn't matter because the software is bottlenecking itself because of the way that it's written or whatever. So anyway, that's that. That's what I've been fiddling around with.
You should check out, just as a final thought, you should check out Veritas's settings guide. He's a really good, in-depth, like really good, thorough guide on it.
Is it quite old?
So no, very recent.
Is it very recent? Okay, I need
Very
to check
recent.
this out.
He did it
I'm
when he
amazed
got
I didn't.
his 3090.
No way. I'm amazed I didn't see
Yeah,
it. Okay,
it's really good.
I'll go check it out.
Highly
Make sure
recommend it to
compare
anyone.
notes.
Yeah, for sure.
Super.
So it sucks. Someone said in chat. Shut up, Ghost. Bitcoin prices dropped. It's been dropping consistently, I've noticed.
Yes.
I kind of feel like maybe they're gonna like just keep declining over time until the wipe happens. That's just my thought.
Maybe.
But
What is it now? Like 350?
yeah, something
340,
like that.
330, something? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's around there, I think. I mean, like previously, this was like 150 back in the
Yeah.
day, right? When things
Back in
were
the day.
more sensible. Back in my day, Bitcoin's only 150. It was sensible then. But you did get a lot more, to be fair. You used to get, 6 per day or something.
I wonder if they're keeping the old way of how it just literally was a 1-to-1 conversion from like real world to, in-game currency. If they're like just doing a percentage, you know, decrease, or if they just like manually enter in a random number. Probably just a percentage
I don't know. I think maybe
decrease.
yeah, because it does still like move about. So I think it would be like a percentage scaled of
Yeah.
what it should be. They'd like move it down so like it's not actually 0.1 in the back end. It's now like 0.04 or something, and then slowly decrease that 0.03, 0.02, 0.01. But Bitcoin's been going down in real life actually. It was like nearly getting up
Oh,
to
did it?
60K. It's like down at like 40 or something.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that. That's interesting. Um, that is interesting. Well,
that kind of
anyways,
it kind
yeah,
of combines with what they've been doing,
yeah.
reducing the price overall. So yeah, I
Or
don't
if
know.
that's
Like
also playing a role.
you see, like various items getting cheaper too alongside it, right? It's good. Look, I think it's good. I think it's good for the whole
Oh yeah,
economy. We could keep making it lower. It's all right.
yeah,
We want to be ready for the next wipe. That's really what it is. Like this wipe is broken now, and so really this should just be kind of like the trial period for the next wipe,
yeah.
and then we should start afresh. We should clear it all out, take it back to the way that it should be done, or just do it differently and try it for the next wipe and see what happens. You know, that's what's important there. Like fixing this wipe, I think is kind of like that
It's
ship
out the window.
sailed. That ship sailed a long time ago after everybody
I
who plays like or at least logs in once a day has over 100 million rubles without actually playing the game. Like now that ship has sailed.
I dare say the wipe was broken at the start when everyone got 1,000 rounds of BP.
That was bad, but I
I
think
guess
that
not everyone,
like
but
yeah, I feel like that kind of evened itself out a bit. I feel like that evened itself out a bit. I didn't agree with that either. I think I actually said vocally on this podcast that I didn't think
yeah.
that was a good decision. But
It's a permanent thing now, right? That's gonna be in every wipe if I understand correctly.
wasn't
Because
it?
it's a gift you can claim. Like, because people can they can claim, like, these old Christmas gifts that gives them, like, an MP or a P90 and stuff
Hmm.
now. I'm curious, we'll see, we'll have to find
Let's
out, but
see. Let's see. Let's
because
see.
that's a ammo that's like what was it? Ammo case, BP, AK, night vision, a rig, and a docs case? Was there a docs case in there? I think there was
I
a
think there
docs
might have
case in
been.
there.
I think
Like,
there might
that's a
have been.
really freaking good thing to have, man. That's, like,
I hope they
really
don't do that.
good.
I hope they don't put it in
Yeah,
there
I don't like
because
it.
it's just silly. Because like it's so many rounds as well. I genuinely thought it was a typo. I think I said this at the time as well. I thought it was a typo, and I thought they were going to give you 100 rounds of BP. I wouldn't have minded if it was like 100 because that's like three full mags.
That's, like, a single raid, maybe 2
Yeah,
raids.
if you like spread it out as well, maybe you could eke out like 3 raids out of it, something like that. If you're doing like proper
Yeah,
like mag stacking or like you're using an SKS
sure,
or
sure.
whatever, then it's like maybe okay. 1,000 rounds? Oh my god, it was just like wait, it is way too much. It was
Yeah.
way too much. So let's hope that they do that and like fix it. Fix it for the next one. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I don't know, I've just been thinking so much recently about like the Tarkov experience, and everyone loves the beginning of the wipe and about
Mhm.
Tarkov being about the journey and not about the
Yes,
destination,
yes.
which is kind of a theme that is keeps cropping up in that I've seen. But I don't know. I'm like kind of like I'm creating my thoughts on this matter. I'm not fully there yet. I haven't
Okay.
completely formed my opinion on this yet. But it's I don't know. Like the Tarkov experience is just that. It's not like the Tarkov goal, where it's like finishing the game is not really a thing. It's like the process of having to go through it. It's
Sure.
makes you who you are. You know.
That's my hope for the final product is that the experience and journey will be, you know, renewable and, sufficient enough for people to experience and re-experience.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
hope that's something that can be achieved. As I said before, I just have a hard time seeing that when there's not going to be any wipes. But again, my vision is only limited to how things are right now. So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I
we'll
can
see.
see ways of making it like you need to kind of like yeah, you just need to have like lots more things that like durability on graphics cards and like that kind of thing that like force things to be self-sustaining because you have to keep going out to get stuff. It's like that kind of idea pushes that forwards. One thing I'm
And
actually like really like this is completely random, so sorry for like jutting in, but like I'm quite
mhm,
excited about this is gonna seem really random, but this is actually I feel like this is relevant. I'm I'm really excited about the new Diablo because I want to see how that feels and compare it to this game and see which bits of the
yeah,
game loop that are missing because I think that the original one cracked it and they're just remastering it, right? So like replaying it, re-experiencing it now, not as like a teenager as well, would be a lot better because I'm much more
now
critical
you
of the
have all
games that
this
I play now.
experience.
Exactly, and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, I actually this isn't good, or this is good, or this could be improved, or blah blah blah. And it's nice
for
when you
sure,
can like
man.
take inspiration from other things and go, this game loop is perfect, and this is how it would work really well in this game. You might need to change it somewhat, but this is how it would work here. I
Yeah,
think that kind of thing is cool. So like, yeah, they're going to build out more of these game loops in general, and like, I still am not sure how the single player is going to mash in with the multiplayer. Can you only play multi after you've played single? Like, how's that going to work? Do you play bits of the single player whilst you're playing multiplayer? Is it only PVE? Like, how does I don't even know how that functions.
you're still talking Diablo.
No, I'm talking Tarkov now. I'm talking
Oh,
Tarkov.
okay.
I'm talking Tarkov, but like no one knows so much stuff that we just don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm excited.
I
I think it's cool. I think it's gonna be fun.
I never played Diablo, so like I'm like that's like I also think the same thing what you just stated, like, but I never played it before, so like yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I should try it to like sort of get that insight because I'm working on a soon TM hatchet running video
Hmm.
and I'm trying to do my fair diligence and research, um, out like other taking from other games like you said.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like yeah, yeah. What was I gonna say with that? Nothing really. So
All right. Yeah, so okay, so we're talking about Bitcoin price drops and effects on the market, and this is probably the biggest thing that's happening right now, right? This is probably the biggest thing that's happening in EFT. Because I think a lot of people have commented on the fact that there's not that much going on in the game itself, which
hmm
is fine. You know, it's fine. Games need periods of stability. You know, we were going through that one stage where it was just like things changing every day, prices changing every day, the factor was going up by 10,000 every day, stuff was just going all over the place. Bitcoin was changing in value with the fuel stuff going on, with like fuel getting up to like 800,000 per thingy. It was mental. So like we're kind of in some ways it's good to be in a period of stability because it makes if it was crazy all the time, then it wouldn't it wouldn't be as exciting. It's like it's fun when things hot up because you know it's the highs and lows. It's the way it's like a great piece of music, you know, or a good movie. You got to have the low points to make the high points even more
Mm,
emphasized
that's
and
interesting.
stand out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So I think like the unfortunate thing for the community is in these periods of low change, people that then go back to just focusing on the negative stuff and complaining. I've seen a lot of complaining recently.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it ties into what you were saying, how when we're in these like periods, there's the experience of Tarkov isn't really there. So then you end up like, um, how do I say this? Like it's hard to like maintain that experience. So like the things like, you know, oh, this guy is crabbing. I've been seeing a lot of people complain about crabs. It's like, oh my God, this guy's crabbing, and it's like, I just want a PvP. And it's like the game isn't really like it's not centralized around that, you know what I mean? So like you're like shoving that experience into like a form that's not like shaped in that way, so like these things that are upsetting become even more so like elevated to the top, like desync. um just,
Yes.
yeah, I mean it's just like it's yeah, it causes a lot of burnout. Yeah.
I think especially people who are playing it all the time, and I think I said this before, but I'm kind of I insulated from it a little bit, or isolated from it, or however you want to describe it, just for like playing a little bit less, which actually kind of
Yeah,
heightens the enjoyment.
it's kind of a good
Honestly,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
like it's
honestly.
quite good. I spend like more time thinking about the game and like writing about the game and like speaking about the game and creating stuff around the game than actually like playing it most of the time at this point, which eventually hopefully will be different, but it's the way it is for now, and there's definitely a silver lining to that. It's good. It's good. I mean, like I've kind of like gone a little bit back towards because I was really like anti-questing at one point as well. I've kind of like come
Mhm.
back to it a bit, which is it's just been good. That's why I've kind of been doing the interchange thing and that kind of thing. And I wanted to talk about a bit of quest, but like we can talk about that like as a thing when we're done with other stuff, if you like. If you got something else
Yeah.
to bring up, I don't mind.
Um, a point from earlier that kind of ties into this was you were talking about, you know, the gameplay systems learning from other games and things of that nature, and then sort of mentioning how we're in like the slow period and like quest and stuff. And like my biggest thing is like you touched on it briefly, where it's like if they had like durability on cards or hideout related stuff, like if if that becomes a part of the gameplay loop, where basically, in my mind, what you're doing is instead of having like this daily quest system, and I don't think the daily quest system is like a awful idea, like it should be written off. I think there's something there, but you then make it to where you don't rely on like hard written rules of quests. It's like, oh, I need to like find a like fuel, for example. Let's just use fuel as an example.
Hmm.
If fuel wasn't like on the flea market in this like hypothetical world, it's like now my quest is like I need to get fuel. You know what I mean? And then you get fuel and it's like I need to get this or I need to like repair this in my hideout or whatever. Having like some like gameplay element that like gives you incentive to go and do a specific thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? It's like you make your own quests because of because the game kind of like facilitates you to go and do that. It's like if you're playing, Valheim, which is like something I mentioned
Mhm.
recently because everyone was playing it, right? And it's like there are quests to go and kill particular bosses, but like a lot of the time you're like
Yeah.
looking for resource. You're like, well, I want to get the
Yes.
next like set of gear, and I need XYZ resource, so I go and look for it because I want to go and build up my base for the next bit, or like, oh, I want to
Yes.
go and build XYZ thing, so I have to go and cut down a load of trees, or I have to go and like mine some particular element or whatever it is. So it's that kind of thing, like where there's there's not necessarily like Minecraft's kind of the perfect game for that. There's not necessarily any built-in content, or at least Minecraft used to be like that when I used to play. I actually haven't played it for a long time. I think there's all sorts of stuff in there now that's changed. But like back when I played it, was like super sandbox. Like you could do
Mm.
anything and nothing, and that was kind of like both its greatest criticism and also its greatest strength in that you decide what you want to do, and there's endless things that you could go and do, and you go and find the things that you need to do the thing that you're actually looking to do in the first place, and it requires a little bit of creativity. But yeah, as you say, right, if there wasn't a flea market, you'd have to go and find stuff in raid, and then go and do particular runs on particular areas that were likely to have that loot or whatever, like giving like taking fuel completely out of the game except for some very rare spawns, and then adding it so that you have to like siphon fuel off cars and the gas station specifically instead, right? Something like that would then give you a reason to go because you have to get the fuel to power the hideout, and you can't get any other way really, or not like consistently, let's say. And so then you're like, right, well, I really need to go and do this, but it makes it a contested hot loot spot because lots of people want to go and get the fuel and siphon the fuel out of the things. It's a good idea, because yeah, it organically gets people to do the things that they should be doing, um, and doesn't just bypass the game loop, which is kind of some people's problem with the flea.
Yeah. And I think the thing is there is like it's not um I don't want the focus to be like, remove the flea market, but it's just like if
Yeah,
they however they choose to like set that up, I think it's just like there's something to that where you're sort of like incentivized to go and do something. I don't let me say it like this, it's instead of them like just coming up with a bunch of quests and keep like throwing quests in the game, this is just like an easy way for you to like have um these non-written quests per se. You know what I mean? I'm doing
yeah.
a really poor job explaining it, but
But it's
hopefully my
almost
point.
things like it's like you have to go and do something. It's the same thing. It's the same thing as like lots of stuff that people have spoken about the issues with the traders, the issues with the flea market around.
Mhm.
You don't have to go and find any of the stuff if you are a competent enough player to never have to actually go and do like loot runs. You can just use your money to buy everything, and that's
Will
kind
you
of a problem.
do the loot runs to get the money, get the thing you
Well, you
need?
do, but if you're, as in, like, if you're like high enough level or experienced enough, you don't actually need to do the loot runs, right? Because
Mhm.
you kill enough players, you take enough gear that you never actually need to really use the market, except for maybe ammo or whatever. But like the reason why people talk about the traders and the free market and the removal of various things and tweaking of it
Mhm.
is to break that linkage
That
between
link, right.
money and stuff, at least some of the stuff. And something like fuel would be a perfect example to say, yeah, you have to go and do this particular game loop to go and get it. You can't buy it. So if you're a full meta chat, you still have to go and spend your time doing the thing to get some stuff. You can't just like PvP your way into buying the fuel with the stuff you sold. I know PvP's been like super nerfed, right, in this
Yeah.
patch, but it still kind of applies that people who are better at PvP typically tend to make more money because you just die less. So those guys end up having a ton of cash, and those are the people who are buying, 1,000,000 rubles worth of M995 and that kind of thing. I don't know. I feel like if you take wipes out of the game, the only way it works is if it's like way more hardcore in that sense of like less traders
Mhm.
stuff and less flea stuff, and more like in-game game loopy type things. It's the only way that it really
Yeah.
works. Like
I
as
kinda
we
agree with you
as we
there.
spoke before, right? Making the hideout requirements all find and raid would extend the game out dramatically, and
Mm.
adding more game loops in like that, where you can't just buy fuel, you have to find it. You have to find graphics cards, and you can run them for a while. Like the fuel runs out, the graphics cards run out, stuff runs out. It doesn't have infinite durability on it. All of that stuff then like creates more incentives to and he's going to get more graphics cards to go and put in my Bitcoin farm. And like, do I save the fuel now? Do I just use it? Do I wait till I get a GPU? Like
Yeah, it's
all of this kind
so
of stuff.
many, and then even in raid, you gotta think about, like, if you come across, like, now it's like you detach the whole concept of slot per ruples, and now it's like slot per value and what I need at this moment. Maybe I already found fuel in a previous raid, now I don't need fuel, but it's still really valuable because I can't just, like, convert ruples into fuel,
Yeah,
or it opens up, and even, like, the stash, now your stash is, like, 'cause I think honestly the best way to play the game stash wise, and it just saves you a lot of time, is just sell everything and just buy as you go. Like, it's maybe not the most cost efficient, but like space wise and like time wise, it's just like I see people just have like rows of cash and then it's rest is empty, and then you just play, and then they put everything in there, and then at the end of the stream or whatever, or during off stream will just like sell everything, and then yeah, anyways.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. No,
yeah.
it's definitely interesting. I mean, when I did my like little dabble with hardcore, which I would really love to do
Yes.
more of, but I just don't. I don't have the time to run it alongside. I don't
Yeah.
want to just do it on it. I don't want to only do that. And because it's not really conducive to making like lots of varied content. Um, but I'd love to go back to it. And the little bit that I did there, the couple of streams that I did at the end of the previous wipe, it just changes your loot priority so much because you're just like, will I use this item? Will I use this item for everything? As opposed
Yeah.
to like, and there's so many things, like even just stuff that you like auto pick up, and you're like, actually, I don't need rubles. Because if you
Yeah.
like ban yourself from buying anything, what do you need money for? Like you literally don't like you can't does not it has no use.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
So
really like people watching are like, "Oh my god, you didn't loot the graphics card? What's wrong with you, man? It's like 20,000,000 or whatever," you know?
yeah, and you're like, well, I'm not even allowed to sell it to the trader. So
Yeah, it's not, it has no value to me, you know?
yeah, or even maybe not use the
I
hideout.
need a spark plug.
Yeah, exactly. I was wondering, like, if you do another, because I was thinking, like, the hardcore thing, like, whether you're even not allowed to pick up, like, other players' items. I don't know, to try and,
That
like, yeah, save
yeah,
yourself from the
that
issue that we've
came up
talked about before.
in the Twitter post actually, Hayes, I think that's how you say his name, Hazy, I don't know. He, uh, Tweak mentioned that he was doing a alpha no flea market thing,
Mm,
and Hayes commented, he was like, "Are you going to be looting player gear?" And I sort of like piggyback on that. I was like, "Yeah, this is kind of like a issue because it's like if you choose to not loot it, you could like in theory you could use it in raid, and then at that point, the only thing that's really valuable is like their gun and ammo, and afterwards, like, you can't use it, so maybe, like, drop it or whatever. And then if you choose to keep it, eventually it's going to be, like, you're gonna slowly, like, progress your way back up to where you were before. Like, it's gonna take longer, but it's like, I mean, it's just I don't know, it's really
yeah,
kind
it's
of a
one of those
finicky
things,
thing.
like, especially towards the end of the white, when everyone's wearing, like, level 4, level 5, level 6 pretty much. It's like all you have to do is, like,
Yeah.
bootstrap yourself into 1 kill on some dude wearing level 5, and then it's like once
And
you
then
have,
you,
like
like,
once
snowball.
you have, like, 1 or 2 pieces, like, and you're getting, like, 50% survival rate or something, you kill, like,
Mhm.
1 dude per game. It's like half the time you lose your thing, half the time you kill them and take their level 5, level 4, level
Yeah.
6, right? And it's then like, well, now I just have one of these things, because that's what happens towards the end of the wipe. You just end up all sharing loot. You kill a guy, you
Yeah.
take his tag tech, he kills you, he takes your ACPC, you kill another guy, he's got a slick on, and then they take your hex grid the next game. It's just like you'll just end up sharing loot. Like the only time
Yeah.
when it's a really problem is like a big problem is early. If you're like really far ahead, you're running like level 5s all the time, and everyone else running level 3, then you're like, you're going down that kind of like loot slope the whole time. But this way, it's like, well, you lose your stuff sometimes, they lose their stuff sometimes. It's just
Yeah.
kind of the way it goes. And so, yeah, that's a big problem with the hardcore thing, because not everybody's playing on the same rules. So everyone else has got like ordinary kit. And so, yeah, you only have to get yourself 1 or 2 kills, really. And probably you'd only be playing hardcore as well if you've played the game as it is, full, all the way through to Kappa as well. So you're probably like, at least competent at killing other players at this point, right? It's not you're just going to say, right, I'm going to play Escape from Tarkov and I'm going to play hardcore right from the get-go because this game isn't hard enough for me. Like no one does that, because the game's absolutely insane for new people. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine just being like, right, you're going to play Escape from Tarkov now, but you're not allowed to loot anything, and you're not allowed to use any of the traders. And yeah, have fun, by the way.
Yeah.
It would be quite funny. But yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to try it again. No container, no fleet, no traders, no hideout. I don't know whether no hideout is a good idea or not. Or
But
whether
see, I
hideout,
really
like, is it fun?
I
Is
like
only
I
finding raids?
like I like it. I think it plays so nice into it because now it's like, because without the hideout, like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it does kind of diminish some of the questing stuff because you can craft it and turn it
You
in.
still have
But
to
but
find the things, right?
regardless,
'Cause you can't use the
it's
flea.
yeah, exactly. It's still it's kind of a nice. I think it's a nice compliment to the hardcore is the hideout, because now it's like it's not just like I like it has items have more than one uses. Like this can be a quest item, or this can also be a crafting item that I can use to craft something else that could be
Yeah,
useful for a different use, which is pretty cool. Like um blue gunpowder, for example, you could use that in your level 1 workbench to make some ammo that you wouldn't have access to. You know what I mean? Normally, because you can't hardcore, you can't do flea market or trader, right? So
yeah.
it's kind of interesting. Um,
Do you allow like barter trades in
I
the
don't think
traders?
so for hardcore. It really depends how you set up your own rule sets
It
because
does.
it's all
That's
their
the thing. I was
stuff.
just like trying to think like what's the most fun. I guess like Deadly Slob's one's quite
Yeah.
good. I think he's got some you can do barters and a few other things. But someone in chat, she's saying, do you guys ever see them wiping at regular intervals post launch despite no new content? Would that work instead of slowing the progression? It's so hard to answer that question, right? It's like I think at the moment it just depends on what gets added and how the game loop ends up looking.
I
Because
mean,
yeah, sorry, what were you gonna say?
sorry. I was gonna say I can see it working based off how Rust operates. They have monthly wipes. Um, but like the whole game is structured around that, you know what I mean? And according to BSG, they never want to wipe once the game launches. So to me, that's like a really hard concept because the games are like fairly similar. So yeah, for me, that's a really hard thing to swallow. But it's might be do. I mean, it could be doable. You would just have to set it up to where you constantly have to like you're constantly in Struggleville. You know what I mean? Like they
Struggleville
would
is
have
Tarkov.
yes, and they need to make that like that's the goal is struggling, which sounds counterintuitive, but
Yeah.
that needs to be the goal is like, oh man, I really need today I need a 7 T plugs and I have crappy armor but I got good ammo. They need just like like you constantly need to get resources. I think that would be the goal. So
Yeah, it's tricky. I think like it depends on how they do it. Yeah, if there's enough like game loops to make it work, I think they could. But like right now, I just don't think
yeah,
that would be possible without.
right now it's hard to see the vision
Yeah, it's
personally.
tricky. It's tricky.
All right, should we move on?
Yes, yes. Should we move on to what I was going to talk about
Yes.
questing,
Yes, the hardest quest was that it? Sorry, that's
basically.
still your thunder.
No, that is it. That is it. That's fine. And it's a yeah, it's one of those ones where it's like because I kind of like thought, oh, I just don't really want to do quests. I'm just like fed up of them. They're boring for me, and I just can't be bothered. And then I did the whole like factory thing and looking at Punisher and all this kind of stuff. And then I kind of like slowly come back to it, being like, oh, let's branch out. Like, oh, there's some quests on some maps I want to play. Let's just see that kind of thing. And it got me thinking about like some of the quests that are really abusive at the end, because like I have done a good lot of them, right? It's like I'm kind of I don't know, am I like 75% of the way through? Probably. Like I'm onto some of the really really annoying ones, and I just thought it would be interesting to kind of like go through and figure out like, so if I was just to ask you, like, what do you think is the hardest quest in the game? What would you say? Like, just straight up.
Right off the bat, Tarkov Shooter Part 8. That quest is so annoying, man. My advice, as soon as the wipe happens, speed run all the quests and try to get to that quest line and finish Tarkov Shooter Part 8 early in the wipe if you can. Because that quest sucks, alright? No one really likes playing Woods. I'm sorry, but every time I go Woods, it's either like, there's sometimes some low level people, sometimes there's some high level people, but Woods is not the map people are like, oh my god, I love this map. I'm sure you're out there and exist, but anyways, too many generalizations being made here. What I should say is that quest sucks because you can't. If you try to get your teammates to help you, you're technically hurting yourself because you have to do the killing, right? You have to do the fatal blow, and they're taking up a enemy slot, so that's another missed opportunity for you. Then you have to like get the mindset of, okay, I need to like spawn in, rush a spawn, and kill a guy, because if I don't do that, someone else is gonna do that. Because presumably other people are doing that quest if you're like at this point in the life. I think that quest just sucks, man. You got to use a bolt action. You can't possibly one tap anyone this wipe because literally everyone's wearing class 5. So not SMB 7 and 31 is just like, I tried using 7 and 31. It didn't work. Everyone had a class 5.
Anyone.
Yeah, everyone had class 5 armor. And it's just like, oh man, this guy's got a DMR. I just lost this fight because he just spam fired me while I hit him in the arm with my bolt action. It's like you have to hit him in the head. Like I watched I was like, for a while I was trying to do that quest and I was watching like YouTube guides on it, and I saw one by Landmark and he just like did it on his first try and he made it look like a breeze, and he just like literally headshot everyone. I was like, you know what? I don't need Kappa. Screw Kappa, dude. I don't need that. Yeah, that was this wipe.
So you still have.
I mean, yeah, but I'm not doing it, dude. My first try, I was fighting a 3-man. I assume they were all on the same team. Maybe they weren't, but one of them killed one guy I was fighting. We were like in between each other. Like I was here, and then the guy I was fighting was in front of me, and then behind him was another guy, and that guy stole my kill right in front of me when we were fighting. And I was like, and it was a 3-man I came across, and I killed one, and I was getting ready to kill the second one, and he took it from me. But I got him in the end.
That really sucks.
And then it was just downhill from there, and I was depressed, and I was like, that's when I took my hiatus from Tarkov. I was so mad, dude. I was so frustrated. That quest killed me.
That quest is like, it is rage inducing. I think it was the one that I was probably the most worried about last wipe, and then did it in like 3 goes, and was like, okay, just because it just sort of worked out. But the problem is that I'm actually not on it yet. Because I've left that quest line for ages. So I'm on number 7, and I was like, let me just combine number 7 and number 8 together, because all you got to do is shoot people with suppressed sniper. So it's like the same. It's kind of like the same quest. Or it's number 7 and shootable in heaven is what I was doing together. Sorry, it's different clearly, because you can't do 7 and 8 at the same time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how does that work?
But the issue that I've ended up running into, and I'm going to split these out, I think, is that like, for 7, you just have to shoot them and they have to die. For shootable in heaven, you have to shoot them in the head. Hitting people with bolt action, specifically in the head, is actually really hard.
Yeah, I mean,
really tough, like really tough. And like, I played a bunch with the DVL, and that's why I ended up like going on to Woods and just like trying to figure out some of the ranging, some of the drops and stuff like this, because I was like going like DVL with M993, like let's just give it a go and see if we can get some good kills on this. I shot at a lot of people, and I did not kill anybody. I didn't kill anyone. It was outrageous. It was outrageous. Like to be fair, I was a long way away. So I was like up on the sniper rock spot and like trying to figure out a few different spots and stuff so I could like get a good overwatch because like half the time it's just so difficult that you just see anybody. That's half of the issue. And I was like, well, at least I can see down into the sawmill now and that kind of thing. And I shot at like a bunch of people from up there, and it was just like, this is just not
And I feel like since they did the map expansion, that quest has got even harder now.
yes.
I could be wrong, but I just feel like if you absolutely do not run into someone like the first 5 minutes, it's just like
Well,
you've killed one guy.
than it seemed before.
Say again.
Woods was a lot smaller than it seemed before the expansion. Because people were in like proper choke points, right? It's like if you spawn down by
Yeah.
there's another guy like the other side.
Oh, for sure. You could literally scope in.
Yeah, guy's down by like, the roadblock bit, if you're down at the rail track
Mhm.
bit. And if he loots the box, if you spawn halfway up, by the time you get there, like he hasn't been able to loot the box yet and you kill him. That kind of thing. Or like people going around the wall edge. It was just insane.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm like,
It's like
people could be anywhere.
they could be anywhere, dude. The map's so big. So that's why I feel like you have to rush. You have to learn the spawns. You have to rush the spawns.
Yeah.
And then hopefully you come across people. And it's just like, you can go sawmill and
Kill them.
I heard people. Here's the big brain, the 5-head move. You ready for this? You bring as your backup or in your backpack or whatever, SVD, and you fire off rounds to attract people to sawmill. And they'll still find Sherman.
That's a good one.
I saw that. And I was like, dude, that's really smart. Actually,
like, come on, boys, let's go.
Yeah,
let's go. Come
that's
on,
pretty
let's go.
smart.
Yeah, that is pretty smart. That is pretty smart.
But I will say, bolt action and quest, they are really frustrating. Like Shooterborn and Tarkov Shooter 8, but they are pretty rewarding as well in terms of like, I did it. You know what I mean? I just can't get past the hurdle of, getting punished that many times. It's like, I missed a headshot with my bolt action. Darn it.
And I have to go and do it all again. Yeah, it's difficult. I do think probably, I mean, we probably skipped to the end of that one, but like, I do think it probably is the hardest, to be honest with you, because there's quite a few other quests that I had. Like, I was kind of just brainstorming and looking through the ones that are really annoying, and there's a few of the others. There's a couple that are just long. They're not necessarily hard. They're just long. Like Grenadier just takes ages. That just takes a long time.
It takes some time. Yeah.
Because you can't just engineer the scenario, it's quite difficult. Like, you can the best way is probably just take a load of VOGs onto factory, but
that's the best, but
it's just like, it's still, you have to like throw the thing, get the guy in the right spot, and they have to die and not be behind the thing, and they have to actually die to the nade, and it's just all this stuff, right? It's like, it's problematic. Like that one normally takes me a while. I quite like the fact that I just like run it in the background along other stuff, just like play a bunch of factory until eventually you get it. I'm actually onto setup now. Finally, with the Ushanka one, and you have to kill all the PMCs with the shotgun with the Ushanka, which
that quest is actually kind of fun in my opinion.
I hated it last wipe because you couldn't wear their headset.
Oh yeah, that's true. They did. That is a big quality of life change.
Yep,
it's a big quality of life change.
Yep. It's huge
for sure.
It's a huge.
That's a huge game, especially on a map like Customs with a lot of like dorms, shrubbery. Yeah, for sure.
And that one's like, Customs is weird because it's not a point blank map, but it's not a long range map either. So you're kind of at medium distance the whole time. It's just kind of a bit of a funny hybrid. So you do need to be able to hear. And that one, I just, without hearing, it was just so bad.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
I just get like a golnicked. I wouldn't even see the guy or hear him at all. He'd hear me coming, stomping around with my scav vest on, my MP153, and then I just get blasted. So that one, I'm kind of looking forward to going back and doing that one now.
I think it's fun because part of it is that Customs has a lot of like low level quests, so you get to be this bully with a shotgun and an AP-20.
You just want to go and shoot poor Timmy.
Yeah, it's kind of fun actually.
Yeah, that one's that one's an interesting one. So, like, yeah, that one. I think last fight that was really, really problematic. There's another couple I'm going to touch on. The one that's like one that people complain about all the time is bullshit. If you're playing as solo,
I was gonna say that. Okay, that quest is I wouldn't categorize as like the hardest,
yeah,
but the most annoying quest. Absolutely. Are you kidding me? I gotta go to third story dorms. A, I can't kill any scavs. B, I have to sit here and plant things in the third floor. And then I gotta mind you, I have to get the flash drive from the bridge. Don't forget about that.
as well.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's like, oh my god, can this quest be any more annoying and tedious? And it's like, dude.
yeah. I was like, I think I did it. Did I do it on stream? I can't remember. I just like picked the stuff up, just walked to dorms, went up the stairs, planted everything, and left.
Yeah.
Had a ZB. That was it. And everyone was like, "How did that happen? How did that just happen?" Literally walked in, no one there, no scavs, no players. Planted all the stuff, left. Then the car was gone. Left. Went around the whole
Yeah.
map. See anybody and left. That was it. Sometimes it happens.
Sometimes it happens. You might have just been that right timing, like two ships passing in the night, you know? It's like,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
uh,
Like just after the big PMC fights happened, like
yeah.
all the player scavs have swept in like it's a scourge of vultures afterwards. Yes, that one's always funny. Which other ones do I have written down? There's like, oh yes, I'm doing decontamination now. That just takes ages. It's easy, but it takes ages. It's just like kill
Mhm.
40 scavs with the respirator on. At least you don't have to use the module 3M anymore. Sounds not too bad. What is your opinion on the guide? Because
The
that is quite, or it can be. If
quests like the guide and bullshit, I just feel like they're designs for a 5-man. It's like, "Hey guys, I got this quest where I have to do some really annoying, tedious thing. You guys wanna help me? Yeah, we'll help you." And then it's just like, you know,
yeah,
it's like, "Oh, I can't kill scavs, but my teammates can." You know what I mean? It's just like you just literally like get Sherpa. Same with the guide. Like that we used to do with my buddies. We would all just like, all right, who's on the guide next? It's like, yeah, I got you, man. I got my thermal here. Hex. Like, yeah, I'm going in. You know what I mean? I'm scanning the area. We would just literally go from spawn on shoreline to the other side. We would just like sonar beacons. Like, nope, it's all clear. Come on through, and we just do that for every map until it's like we're done.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
that is good. It's good. I did that with a friend as well because I did mine solo just to kind of like prove a point to myself. But like
yeah,
I did it with a friend
I remember that.
and got him the guide with it. And it was quite fun. I quite enjoyed the like almost like zero pressure like bodyguard thing because like I'm not doing the quest, but I'm just like running around blasting people like
Yeah,
protect the
that's
president
the fun
type
part.
thing.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
get to be the Secret Service. It's not fun being the president, but it's
yeah,
fun being the Secret Service.
yeah. When you're like the retinue, it's good.
Yeah,
Actually. It's quite fun. There could be some more things like that. I think. Um,
yeah, that could be interesting game mode.
which could be quite cool. Oh god, which other one? Oh, okay. So there's one which is a real contender, I think, which is Insomnia. I think that's a proper contender. Like it's
Now, what is that one? You
30,
have to kill.
30 kills at night.
See, what we do is we go night interchange because it's like you technically don't really need night vision. So if you're like,
Light enough.
don't, yeah, especially if power's on, you really don't need night vision. So
That's fair.
for yeah, that's kind of how we got around of it because we're all like, yeah, I remember like when we were first playing the game, learning, we're like, ugh, you have to wear night vision, and back then thermals were like popular because of the old flea market system. Um, and yeah, we were just like, we play a lot of interchange. What about night interchange? So yeah, that was kind of like our way to get around that.
That's quite smart because I think a lot of people just play Night Factory because it's always you can always get a night raid because that's kind of the issue with that one.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
can't
that's true
always get a
too.
raid in the time.
That's true.
Like,
Yeah,
oh, let me gear up and all this
I
stuff, and you
forgot
come
about
in and
that.
you're just like, oh, it's 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Hmm. And then you're like, right, let me ungear and do something else. Because it's just like really that's
Yeah.
honestly really annoying. Whereas the factory one, it's just like 3 in the afternoon, 3 in the morning, all the time static. But night factory, like I've enjoyed playing day factory a lot, but night factory is a whole nother beast. It's a whole nother beast. It really is. It really is. People sat on the
Yeah, it
rafters
is
of
different.
VSSs,
Yeah.
like, waiting for you, like, people sat in places where it's really hard to see them with MVs, like
All the lights in there, and you're like, you go inside the office and you're like shooting out every light like some maniac. Yeah, I actually like it. Maybe we should do that more often. I
yeah,
haven't done.
it's stressful solo, I will tell you. It's very
Oh
stressful
yeah,
on your own, but, it's like I find that one quite hard, I think. You have to, like, think carefully about what you're gonna do on that. It's not just like you can just grind it. You can just grind away on it, but, like, it can take a really long time if you don't do it on factory, and on factory, you can die a lot.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you do it has to it really does take some proper
It'd
consideration.
be a grind. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a
Um,
bit of a tangent, if that's all right with you.
yeah, yeah.
That's sort of related. Um, what do you think about if Tarkov just had one time zone? Because now we have like these sort of like two worlds, you know?
Hmm. Well, so as in, like, if it's night, you just have to play at night.
Yeah, because I say that because Rust is like that, right? And that's like it's an open world game, I know, and it's like it's kind of one of those things that most people don't like because it's like, oh, it's nighttime, can't really play the game. Let me just sit in my base. But it sort of like adds like an interesting element because it's nighttime. You know, visibility's low. You know what I mean? It's like the rain and weather stuff. It's like it's raining, audio discrepancy or whatever is is low. It adds like a spin to the. So yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I like my gut instinct was night because I really don't play
Yeah,
nighttime that much,
yeah, same.
but I actually don't think it would be too bad because it would
Wouldn't be
make
the
people play the nighttime raids. Because I feel like nighttime's a bit of an afterthought right now. It's like people doing quests and some people who like doing it for looting. And outside
yeah.
of that, like most people just don't play it. I think that's actually not a bad idea because it then forces people to actually at least consider it. And it's like maybe you do different raids at night. You know, well, I guess it's up to you. It's like everything in EFT, right? It's like well, you do maybe do loot runs or whatever if it's nighttime or quests that are more suited to. It would make those quests really annoying though. Feel like I want to do this quest, but it's not the right time, and I don't have like two slots where I could potentially do the quest in. That would be really painful. So they'd have to widen those out, I think, a bit. um, to like, you know, 12 hours of the day, something like that. But that's actually how when I played in one of Shifty's tournaments, that's actually how he ran it. So he said like right hand timer only, and it was like 8
Oh,
hours long.
interesting.
So you start in the day, then it goes through the dusk, then you play like one or two raids at night, and then it comes back into the morning again. Like it was quite cool. So you have like a couple of raids in the middle where you have to use NVs.
Yeah,
It was quite yeah, it was quite cool. So I actually don't mind it, even though my like initial like gut reaction was just like, oh god, no, that sounds awful. I actually don't think that's too bad. I really don't think that's too bad. It'd be quite cool.
drawing from DayZ, a game that you and I've played. Um, it has a system like that where you know it's like night day,
Yeah.
right? And it's like a persistent world, like it's always there. But in that game, you can do more stuff at night. You know what I mean? Like you could manage your inventory or manage, you know, maybe like make a fire. You know, it plays more to like the survival things. What I'm saying is, there's like other alternatives to do besides the normal thing of looting and shooting zombies. You know what I mean? During the day. You have
Yeah.
like whereas like in Tarkov, it's like, okay, do I do a night raid or do I sit in my stash slash hideout? Like what would be the alternative? You know what I mean?
Yeah, other than
You would
really
almost be like
yeah.
forced to play a night raid if you want to play Tarkov. It wouldn't be like you could like sell stuff in the current state. You could like sell stuff, you could like craft things, but that's gonna take you like what, maybe like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, depending on how much stuff you get to sell. Like I don't know, it'd be kind of weird. I don't think it's like the game's ready to like support that
Yeah, maybe
right
not.
now.
It is an interesting idea. I don't know, like I'm kind of like I'm kind of up for it because just like force you to do it. Um it's like Chad says, it'd be less convenient but more interesting. That's like Tarkov in a nutshell,
That's
isn't
kind of my
It's
thought,
just
dude.
like that's the whole of Tarkov. It's just like the game is just an inconvenience, and the more of an inconvenience it is, the more interesting it is. You know what I mean? When Tarkov gets easy, when everyone's got loads of money, everyone gets fed up and bored. Everyone
Yeah.
plays this game in the first place to just like have their will crushed and to be able to kind of like wrestle with the beast and see if they can struggle through and make it. And that's what I said, right? It's the journey. It's the journey, not the
Yeah.
destination. And
Because
like
man,
being like force fed through night raids would be kind of cool. You have to like get your MVs on and like
yeah, or even like if it's like imagine seeing a PMC during day that has NVs on because he's like now it's like it's adding to the preparation process. Like, oh, it's gonna be dusk a little bit later. I don't know. I'm thinking too far ahead. Like,
yeah.
but anyways,
It's a cool idea.
it's
cool.
really it's interesting.
Yeah, it's decent. It's decent. Yep.
Cool. Do you have anything else?
No, really. I think that's it. I think that was it. I think that's it. Looking forward to doing some more quests. It's going to be fun. All of the hard quests. They're all left for me to do and suffer on.
Did you watch any of the Punisher tourney?
I watched like a very little bit of it. I would like to watch more, but I watched some small pieces of Pesley's stream for it. I mean, most of it's kind of the same, right? But I didn't watch. I wouldn't say I watched more than like 30 minutes in total.
I watched the a bit of the EU. I mostly just watched Glorious for a bit, and then
What a pro.
and then I watched a little bit of NA, Hyper Rat, and Del Hero. I think I switched between those two guys mostly. But I just want to touch briefly on it. We gotta wrap up here. It was actually really interesting because they changed the rule sets, right? Like it's super okay, so they have it set up where it's like your level 40 account, and I assume you have like a certain amount of skills, like skill leveling skills, and then you have traders, but you don't have all the unlocks from like quests and stuff. So you just have like a very specific items you can buy from them.
Yeah.
And the meta from like Punisher Tourney 2 and 3 EU and Africa, or sorry, not EU and Africa.
The Asia one.
Southeast Asia, or maybe it's just Asia and Australia. The meta there was Vector and MP7s. And then they decided to change it up for the EUNA, and they were like, all right, no more Vector, no more MP7, and we're removing the APC, the 9mm ammo. What is it? APC 63? No, they kept that one.
APC, they kept that one, but got AP63 removed.
Yeah, because that's what people are using. Everyone's using the Vector of APC. Because
I guess everyone was wearing level 4.
Well, face shields, man. There's only like 2 face shields that are class 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean you completely
on the traders, can you?
No.
You can only barter.
No, you can only barter, yeah. So that made the meta really interesting because now it was like, do I pay an arm and a leg for 7-in-1 to put in my MPX? Right? Because there wasn't no Vector.
Which you can get from Peacekeeper.
Yeah. Or do I just buy the PST? But then it was like now face shields became really valuable. So people started rocking face shields now because they were actually saving them from, these low caliber. It was actually really interesting. The EU and NA ones, because they like just changed the meta and everyone had to adapt. But cool. It's actually really interesting, man, because it's like, I really wasn't into it, but then when I started watching it, and I could kind of see how like you could get a snowball effect, right? Because it's also, you're not only playing a shooting game, you're playing an economical game, because you have like start with X amount of money, and you have to buy everything from the traders, right? You need gear. So you buy the gear, and then it's like price performance, and it's like super interesting. But kind of the meta I saw was the MDR. and M855A1 because you can get it from Skier for 367 rupees per bullet.
Yeah.
But there's no trader limits, so it was like kind of busted.
Oh, did they take the trade limits off?
Yes, yes, on specific things. As far as I was aware, anyways, it seemed to me that the ammos didn't have limits. I don't know. I might be wrong. Things like the KS-23 had a limit. You could only buy one, and that was it. I think it was like one, and it didn't reset. It was just like literally one. I'm not too sure actually. I shouldn't speak too much on that. So I don't know.
55A1
Someone can correct me.
Especially people.
It seemed like it was
really good.
Yeah. Well, see, you couldn't get 5 or 6. You could only get 5 and 4. That's the only thing people would run because you could get the Gazelle or the Corund. And
the Gazelle's quest locked anyway.
Yeah, how did people get it though? Because a lot of people were rocking it. Maybe they had that unlocked.
Maybe they had it unlocked for cash.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, Karan Gazelle, and then the Rat Rig or whatever it's called, the level 4 rig.
6B 3TM, the old trusty.
Yeah.
That's the boy.
It was pretty interesting because one of the things that kept coming up because I'm like working on a video on how like Axel and Del Hero won their divisions.
Yeah.
So I got like their VODs and I'm like going through and everything. But one of the things that kept coming up is like towards like the second half of the event, you start seeing people coming in like really low gear, like Struggleville, like a shotgun, that's it, or like a pistol and that's it. It's like there's a clip on I think in a division, someone hatched another guy, or maybe it was Europe. I was like, oh my god, dude, that's great. But yeah, it's like, and then it's like this whole RNG element to it as well. Like, say you spawn in and you're the guy in like first place and you're all geared up. You have like an HK of like the best trader parts on it and like your class 5 vest and because the meta, once you had enough money, the meta was the Vulcan helmet, I want to say, because it was a class 6 head and then a class 4 face shield. So it was like pretty meta for that event. And then you're going up against people with like pistols and shotguns. And you're like a juggernaut. But you could get, in theory, you could get in the lobby with a bunch of people who are at the bottom of the food chain, right? They're like in last place, so they're almost like feeding you kills in a way. But it's
kind
like
of RNG depending on who you get.
Yeah, it is kind of like RNG, which is just the nature of the game and everything. I think it's interesting because I feel like the people that really caught on to the meta, like Del Hero and Axel, they both were just like MDR, the 556 MDR, like through and through. That was like that, and then like class 4 rig, and then once they like were starting to gain a lead, they started like investing more in armor and like better mods and better guns and stuff. But it's really, I thought that was pretty cool.
It's cool, like seeing people adapt like that and stuff, and then winning because kind of their like good decision making as well as their gameplay. That's nice, right? It's like strategy,
a perfect melody. Yeah.
That's nice.
It was a pretty cool depth to see in the event. So
awesome. Yeah, I wish I'd see more of it, but good to know that it's it was an interesting watch, right? That's kind of what people want.
Yeah. I look forward to more. What else they can do? All right. Last closing thoughts.
Gosh, more Punisher. I hope to enter the next one. We'll see. It'd be quite fun. I'd like to do it.
Yeah, I might do it as well.
We'll see. It's just it's a good exercise for yourself anyway to just like try it out and go for it. I mean, it's like these guys are just like so insanely good that there's not really any chance. But it's more just about doing it for the experience because it'd just be fun to do, just as a thing. But I'm glad it's going well. What's next? We got any more? We got anything coming up soon? More tourneys? I can't remember.
I think there's
Is there a Rivals one coming up at some point?
Yeah, there is a Rivals one. They mentioned that. I think Evasion's doing a duo event right now, or is like coming up this weekend. I think BSG might have some involvement with that, and I think there's Arrivals coming up a little bit later.
Yeah, so we'll see, we'll see. But yeah, looking forward to that, and looking forward to the next patch, I suppose, to kind of break us out of the dry spell.
Yeah,
That's
and the
it.
Goog.
That's it.
All right, bye. No, yeah, I guess we'll wrap it up there, and see you guys next week.
Catch you later, everyone.